marine ecosystems, the break out, and free rates up to the administration, and move aggressively out of multiple against bush species, break the intent, the subsidies enabled American fishing and Spain farming on levels which operators can be seen in Brazil, the U.S. commercial fish spins overflowing fish conservation with odds on floods, contributed to the destruction of the already fragile ecosystem of our shores, encouraging overfishing and satisfying depletion of growing important fisheries, and coral reefs in the Florida Keys are risk browser and 5 Florida Keys coral reefs are dissipating along the race without fields on the gold gun 50 years coral reefs are an indication of life support system and trouble coral reefs dying for fish and they're uniquely worthy of protection to create three waters of Florida home. The world's third largest barrier reef, Florida reefs, coral ecosystems creating a nursery area corals. The Florida coral reefs are habitat and formed by diversity. Florida Keys well supports over 6,000 species, including many threatened endangered species and its biological hotspot, 23 Caribbean hotspot, and comes to Florida Keys first human titles both very high number of species, 51%, 50%, and air on the side protecting the keys makes the consequence of the treaty are not to include fires and unimaginable cost of those serving hotspots for the area of the force to represent the sideline and get lucky only gain there's a small bit of effect being heavy counted the catastrophic losses because suffer it's also very probably seen that road is real and significant given the no the horrific effects from coral reefs discovered real how much engineering is extremely uncontrolled immature probabilities is much more likely the first order behavior to lots of wages the extreme health costs are far likelier to fall in favor of hotspot conservation and the consequences include planetary extinction grade 3 the coral reefs affecting other environmental fluctuations coral reef display major world geochemical cycling of all the elements represent basically flexibility or is very real and direct sense human degradation meaning compared to ability to support life and any otherwise instead of species have strong effects on certain beings of the U.S. within its territory unique that maybe on a unique world we kill the oceans we kill ourselves we'll take most of the biosphere with us and scenario 2 is sponges subsidies placed in risk loving 7 science call for a ban on fuel substance bomb trawlers destroy deep sea sponge beds extinct centuries growth deep sea fishing it's only profitable to subsidies limited subsidies but these leads unviable and relieve the tremendous pressure on fishing deep sea fisheries cannot occur without government subsidies and they're particularly vulnerable off the Florida coast north coral authorized with most biologists calling for governments protecting growth sponge systems they have a population by 1,132 scientists by the young person conserved by experts marine scientists sponge to the destroyed by bottom trawling deep sea treasures have found the bottom trawling are rapidly limiting coral sponges in Florida sponge substances contain chemicals to become medicines and sponges are key to solve antibiotic resistance and 314 chemical response to reprogram antibiotic resistant bacteria to make them vulnerable again ineffective antibiotics will help lead once again this could revolutionize our approach to infections chemical analysis sponge will depend on a chemical compound called algafarin notoriously resistant to antibiotics is all been treated with algafarin the successfully resensitized the bacteria we have yet found what doesn't work this can limit the bacteria's resistance bacterial resistance maybe more entirely and resistance causes extinction Davies 80 antibiotics and pathogens recognize one of the main threats to human survival some experts return to the antibiotic effective use of antibiotics imperative to health for product coming from the fusion of infectious diseases the chance not to be underestimated and Florida sponge is a key aspect of COP2 the search for bioactive substances from mirror-open series but isolated from the sponge collected of the coast of the Florida Keys sponge result in isolation of algafarin and scenario 3 is jellyfish subsidies risk to take over oceanic 12 stations scenario top marine scientists call for a bomb to limit fishing many marine species collapsing and becoming safe for the next decades the U.S. Act immediately prevent further extinction technical disruption something to drive the species into oblivion like the fisheries conservation management act of several fishing will encourage resistant species such as jellyfish, the future rats and cockroaches, the ocean forest in place of the species, and they force nuclear power plant accidents, to truck magazines, 12-15 massive swarms of jellyfish are growing threats to nuclear power industry, the problem is very real, jellyfish, the egg fish, and the people for food, they may jam 1,000 square miles within their gelatinous bodies, swarms, jellyfish, clog, water, and take place power plants, and instant force plants to shut down killing people in darkness, and strong performance in the short term, skinny nuclear power expansion, more robust design, self-long term ask before, you continue to gain public trust in nuclear powers compared to the continued strong safety, performance, and plans to maintain long-term advance, world science will increase public confidence, public fears, and nuclear power anti-vax, groups and media, and will counter on to transport, building conditions to probably the U.S. devil, public citizens, and issues must be overcome. And plans accidents in the interim global shutdowns, that's 199. Accidents have devastating impact on nuclear industry worldwide. Whereas the arguments for us was the nuclear industry was much safer, such as the pill, and any process of large scale expansion, nuclear power, and the possibility of widespread shutdowns, conditions can be very real, and only nuclear power checks runway warnings of carbon global warming now. Advancing socialism, the only nuclear power can global civilization scientists or the love log believes there's simply not enough time for renewable energy. Only nuclear power can now check runway warming to cause climatic turbulence and extinction, technically scale human extinction, collapsible lives, have level all full scale plays would be lost for strength match. We should use points on the more life cells, more dark ones, more for reason building sons methane is already underway and overfishing is a precondition for other stresses to be destructive. They're relevant to solving controlling trade through the reduction in number, size, commercially important species, effect marine food webs, economic extinction, caused by overfishing proceeds, all of the positions of disturbance to coastal ecology, including pollution, degradation, water quality, climate change, human overfishing may become a necessary precondition for any other anthropogenic stresses considered in the land. Meaning ecosystem fishing, very destroy habitats, bycatch, devastating marine species, even though they're not commercially viable, completely limited global food chain, shift the dynamics of the entire system of fishing effects, on like self-health, the ecological processes, the entire ecosystems are critical to the ocean's overall health and fishery management will fail without elimination of subsidies. Oceana 17 subsidies create strong pollution prevention, undermine the ability of management to set sustainable fishing limits, even develop sophisticated measures, sophisticated management system, content, substitution, management is necessary for sustainability, is not sufficient, less catch rules, fully endorsed, subsidies, increase in the fishing industry exploitations and support, increase dependence, reduction of financial support, increase productivity, profitability, economic benefits, give a chance to rebuild fish stocks, return of time to substitute fishing on my favorite current fish control program, and prevent depleted fish stocks from causing advantage to its leadership. The U.S. has taken leadership on global fishing subsidies. However, there's concern about following through. EWG 370 has been forefront on global harvest fishing subsidies. While the U.S. political subsidies remains unclear whether they'll really deliver or not, the way the U.S. has been proactive bottom line is concerns as the ocean become more depleted. It is critical to address subsidies in the U.S. EWG is leadership to shift subsidy programs that encourage overcapacity and Obama subsidy economies that talks forward ocean damage reaching a tipping point. Oceana 2-2. The WTO is in a key position to ensure long-term viability for its fisheries. About comes down to achieve major environmental protection of the ocean. Without facts, action will become too late to reverse the plans. We are seeing the world's fish population such as fishing must lose strong limits on fast and can't subsidy to help end the doom bust cycle of fisheries exploitation collapse. And unilateral cuts are key to get the U.S. leverage and fit others to reform Flimsy to pay regulations to foster hospital agriculture to prevent the rest of metal and valid very distant price protection culture trade military since bad deals working in the world. The post-match forms out the negotiations to learn our own bad policy, the bargaining chip, policymakers, and more decisions, but also by banning press talks about in favor of coordinated unilaterals of going long, non-laws, bargaining chip, pension, people, credit for liberalization, chief study of the earlier on the found country to receive credit for firing global cost coordinated laws, most of the negotiation, U.S. legislative leverage lock-in, by self-considered valuable U.S. contribution by the pension will bolster the future confidence of each other commitment to continue to be extremely important to initiate coordinated laws allow the policymakers to take advantage of the liberalization without protection to ensure U.S. customs model to make diplomatic pressure to effective right to the U.S. playing an important leadership role in the conservation of high seas fisheries and plenty people to do African development rules reduce government substance contribute fishing to step up to local diplomatic pressure to make sure that the important international fisheries can minister effectively, but we need to agree the way we manage fish stocks to conserve the model for other fish nations and credible action triggers a global response and reverses the negative perceptions the U.S. has I've known as SEA for the global environmental governance from 12 U.S. must take leadership position. You currently discourse the U.S. independent global collective action for environmental protection. Sustainable effort is required to respect the U.S. Belco's beyond skepticism further with global cooperation. The U.S. must actively take leadership role and bring about a successful response. However, any time the U.S. led reform without credible proof of genuine leadership will fatal as was trust and opposition at times come to contempt and be poured under new missionary. The U.S. will become a leader again in global environmental arena and global ocean protection is key to human survival. SF6 and international groups of colleges and economists shown that the loss of biodiversity finally affect the ocean ability to its food, political industry, rebound, to every species lost, but fashion around the ocean gets every species carved out significantly overall productivity, stability, and less fundamentally change the centuries, the last the ocean extreme cycle. It increases those nutrients, that toxic produces food, ensures carbon dioxide, oxygen, worldwide the services the ocean needs also requires destroying marine biodiversity, central to its serious sensible food security, water quality, gives floating biodiversity continues to decline. The marine environment not able to stand alive at all, and fisheries agreements has a precedent for trade and environmental harmonization. WWF 2 to discipline fishing substance challenges WWF for the political movement to embrace environmental interests to balance states in this first concrete movement opportunity will set a precedent for about balance, more productive WTO from scales, vegetables, fisheries, and increasing skeptics will have solid reasons to believe the WTO is incapable to make real contributions to sustainable development. As a time for WTO to really help turn tide of fishing subsidies, and that's key to survival of multilateral environmental agreements. World 96 resolution, global environmental pump, and water back to by large part of the country, they continue to trade environmental pumps separately. The economy of most of Europe pumps are achieving global environmental problems. They the tension between trade rules and environmental rules is likely to increase in the future. Use trade restrictions, multiple environmental agreements, multiple environmental agreements briefly. Use trade measures that shows that some reconciliation must occur, even if it never happens. The anticipation of a WTO rule on environmental support, as with the UK, the WTO extends into regulatory environmental protection. The WTO may also like reducing environmental standards. Nations dictate that environmental laws by the WTO facilitates regulatory race to the bottom where national regulatory enforce global environmental standards and MEA prevent global deforestation, facilitates sustainable forest management. As Child Force UK, this WTO will consist with the conflict with existing MEAs that are beneficial to forests, consequential and further freedom from countries to negotiate MEAs benefit forests or self-treaties that contribute to forest conservation, self-responsible, global impact forest WTO rules with the freedom to negotiate future MEAs that sustainable forest management interpretation WTO rules. These countries have fewer tools available to them for sustaining the current production of forest. WTO rules are currently interpreted have implications for forest and potential livability against also serious consuming products based on their impact on forest and sustainable forestry solves all the that's extinction of how they want to 98 blind species being a catastrophic consequence large result of deforestation species first may be in place most important irreplaceable consequence of the consequence of production biodiversity conservation series or team future availability of genetic resources and eco leadership is key to U.S. global influence. Walter Tree, there's much talk about the internal strength of the U.S. is the most powerful world stands for the capital moral authority interaction with the world by directing the environment on ways to take leadership role fighting very basic American supremacy acted unprecedented by genuine environmental debate looks at unbearable arrogance those who promise to serve session go on ambition such political events the U.S. may know what we deal with as a reliable partner and the impact of global wars Kagan 7 actually I'm going to read the plan first. Thus, the plan United States federal government should eliminate nearly all vastly enhancing fishery subsidies and nearly all of its fishery research subsidies. Back to Kagan. Were the U.S. admission influence over nations and disputes through competition for these parts of the weapons act made war skin catastrophic and moral global relations would give native governments armed arguments major conflicts about trade flows in ways not possible between corruption and China, Taiwan, U.S. and Japan, world corruption, law, Russia, Georgia, fourth U.S. and Europe to intervene, conflict, the tax as possible assets, run additional such conflicts more likely to interrupt U.S. we can apply direct powers to stabilize and defend parts of the U.S. Good check rock for forcible approach on spread to increase the likelihood of conflict of U.S. back in. Yeah, in.
Do we take break?
Okay. Let's talk about the plan first. You eliminate capacity enhancing fishery subsidies. What does that mean? Like boats that are overfishing, what subsidies do they receive?
Boats that are overfishing, like anything that increases the ability of the fleet to either have more ships or for a ship to catch more is a capacity enhancing subsidy.
So give me an example of a subsidy that deals with those fleets.
That deals with those fleets. Fuel subsidies are an example.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about jellyfish. Why are they important?
Well, jellyfish cause nuclear accidents by
Did you
basically.
read the impact card to accidents?
Yeah.
What card?
Our Bunn evidence indicates that in the short term, if there are accidents, it destroys global faith in the security and safety of nuclear power, which will shut down
What's the impact thing?
global warming. Nuclear power is the only way in the short term that we can decrease emissions. Other renewable technologies won't be able to come online fast enough.
Okay, let's talk about sponges. Are the sponges that solve antibiotic resistance sponges we've already found, or are they sponges that still need to be found?
Well, we have found them, but the problem is that we don't know how to replicate the compound that exists in them. We can only basically extract it.
Why
directly
can't we
from the
just keep
sponge.
those sponges in a tank, and if all the natural sponges go extinct, we would still have the domestic sponges that have these same chemicals?
Well, first of all, we're not keeping them in a tank now, and I don't think we know how to just continually replicate an infinite number of sponges. The other problem is that we need to have
reproduce.
We need to have a lot of the compounds. It's not just like
Why can't sponges reproduce in tanks? Why do sponges have to be in the ocean to reproduce? Like, this seems stupid. If we keep a sponge in a tank, we can get all the chemical benefits from it. You said we know which sponges are key. It seems like if sponges are going away, we'll take a couple hundred and be like, okay, we have sponges, no impact.
Well, we're definitely not doing that now, but our evidence indicates that we need to have those sponges in the natural environment. We do know that they produce this compound, but we don't know everything about them
Because
yet.
I caught you off guard.
Huh?
Do you have a card that says we're not doing that, or is that just an assertion?
More importantly, if you only have a couple sponges and tanks, it means that you can only solve some antibiotic resistance. Our evidence says that
Let's
algae
talk
can
about
eliminate
antibiotic
one
resistance.
biofilm at a
Your
time.
card is talking, your
Antibiotic
impact card for
resistance.
antibiotic resistance is talking about doctors overprescribing antibiotic medicines. This is not about sponges.
Yeah, absolutely, but the problem is that the biofilm produced by sponges reverses a process of antibiotic resistance and resensitizes bacteria.
Okay, why are Florida sponges key?
Because they're the ones that produce algaferin.
Why is
Algaferin is the biocompound that we've described.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about nuclear power plants. I want to get back to the jellyfish. What is this a chemical thing as well? What is the threat to nuclear power?
As jellyfish literally take over ecosystems, they're eating up the coastal ecosystems, and they get sucked into the water pipes in nuclear power plants. And
So
if that
you're not
happens
going to
too much,
find better
it could-
filters to deal with jellyfish?
It's not like a filter issue. It's that in order to cool a nuclear plant, you have to suck a bunch of water in,
Okay.
and then it sucks in
Yeah.
jellyfish.
We provided everything.
So, I just want to clarify, you say, what's your WTO argument?
U.S. cuts are critical to leverage global subsidy cuts in the WTO. That's critical to harmonize the WTO with multilateral environmental agreements.
Okay.
And boosts U.S. environmental security.
If you can find this, otherwise I don't get it to you.
All right, we're good. Order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 off, and then case on one sheet. Case on one sheet. Yeah.
Who is keeping track of time?
I didn't use.
Yes, you said, did you have 8:35 for us?
Dumb bitch. Come on. Gross. Jennings is getting excited about the game. I can sleep.
That's fine.
right, let's go.
For subsidy specification and firm, but not specify subsidy limited in the plan text. They don't do this. It's a voting issue. One grant not specifying less than firm, despite out of dissent and makes the specific sub by clarifying not what the subsidy plan proof. This makes it impossible to test the efficacy of affirmative form decision making out ways we cannot test the truth of their arguments without firstly testing it. Two is education. Congress would never eliminate some subsidy without specifying which one testing the subsidy and individually screen to learn about knowing some different subsidy foreign policy. Three is consultancy. They see here the plan text, which we interpreted as Lucy's possible key subsidies will not be eliminated. Vote negative on presumption. Terror 98. People try to interpret Lucy the unenvironmental managers are using word extends a lot to not find nearly also much disagreement with constitutes compliance history defining nearly all over the place takes topicality interpretation. One is the term agriculture requires breeding. It refers to farming, not hunting or capturing animal house. 6, agriculture concerned with feeding, breeding, raising, structure. 2 is agriculture refers to systems of food production. They explicitly exclude hunting and catching. The term exclusively refers to farming and the cultivation of animals. Columbia Encyclopedia 8, agriculture producing livestock and natural resources. Early people depend on hunting, fishing, and food gathering. Plants and domestication of animals. Agriculture comes into being. These violation of the plan eliminates support for fishing, not fisheries. Fisheries refer to aquaculture. Fishing is hunting and gathering. Aquaculture is agriculture and is distinct from capture fishing. Capture fishing is not cultivation. Bates and Kaling 2000 Webster defines aquaculture as cultivation, natural production. Water aquaculture is agriculture that system. The capture will be used through the connection of fishing technique. C, reason to vote negative ones, predictable limits. Limiting the topic with the most precise definition of agriculture is key to predictable limits for alternative mixed fisheries. Air bidirectional allows the capture. Cultivation has to doubling the fisheries application diverts to the most precise definition because that's the only predictable interpretation. 2 is ground the U.S. already eliminated the majority of capture subsidies, destroying subsidy of this interpretation forces debates with attitudinally non-inherent acts, which is an independent voter pure inside. 7, the U.S. ambassador to prevent an ambassador was proposed to the fisheries subsidy the U.S. to relative few capacity of subsidies and achieve this in topicalities voter for fairness, competitive equity, jurisdiction next to the economy stabilized now, double goods and home sales, all proof, section in China 325, orders and double goods and new sales, roads, the sign of the biggest the U.S. economy, sector figures, suggests the economy stabilized, there's indication of stabilization, economy serving the world economy, civil industries, house, and eliminating subsidies to fisheries, which destroy U.S. competitiveness. You've got 97 central U.S. subsidies, commercial vessels, and it's the effectively economic superpower rating of cost, subsidy U.S. ship power to promoting shipping available overseas, is key to the U.S. economy, and for the U.S. dominance is whatever strong economic growth part of the U.S. And the growth of the U.S. needs a new competitive agenda to innovation challenge with the century and economic pressure leading to nuclear war. Oh, and U.S. key to global economy, Uri 1.3, as a global like the global piece, the work cannot find a way that Thomas history times in the absence of economic and the key factors to recover U.S. economy. And nuclear World War 3, O'Donnell 226, could economic crisis lead to World War the economic recovery after the Great Depression, Europe fashion movements, was equal movements of World War II. The North American Europe experienced recession and completion of resources. The economic riders in the Middle East, Asia, South America will cause World War, adding nuclear weapons and fundamentals in this will look even worse. Sometimes history does repeat itself. Next is politics. You need to center link Obama will not get his defense cuts now. He will be swamped by interest group politics, but a major political win would reverse this. Fighters through the president is like the producer of revolts, but opposition when the defense lobbies is already one of the lobbies focused on Obama's attempt to curb defense spending. The defense lobbies will ensure that he has an intent for conflict will also be easy, but if Obama's early test show a decisive political streak, what happens in defense budget will be a signal testable reverberant in subsidy cuts or show political muscle that demonstrates Obama's strength and resulting in defense cuts will plan when overwhelms any specific constituent that is displeased with the plan running the Herald under 314. Members of Congress are digging into resistance to Obama's program to run afoul of the constituents in order to time Congress made constituents interested in this time for Obama to exercise political muscle that will catch the attention of members of Congress who incline towards opposition. Obama needs to create a broad public mandate that forces members to look at the broader public interest or otherwise he will dwindle. We need a consensus that persuades members of the facial process of Obama to resist the impulse of action. That's why clear action must happen. The members of Congress need to get their law going in a different direction. Defense cuts will result in global war and terrorism. American Congress 323. The platinum defense spending is not the right national security costs and financial uncertainty, political instability, violence, financial crisis. The crisis invites opportunities by work states and terrorist organizations what required is to bolster allies and run with down VM programs across the board. It does little to research the defense departments, versus increasing our to Iraq, Afghanistan, fighting around North Korea, nuclear weapons programs, and more aggressive Russia and China all require resources. We are hollow ass and strong weapons to defense this. It's particularly true within the economic crisis and this results in global nuclear war right in the continuing strategic competition and occasional systemic wars or catastrophe that would lead to among nuclear power and European countries. This people sending clear nature of the order or its major wars is likely next to Japan. The LDP will win the Japanese election. Now workers do not perceive any substantive difference between the two parties. Tonight in 316 with the DJP scandal, as far as an election opportunity with the grabbing election voters would like to conclude there's no difference between the two swing voters and nearly half voting population in the first place. There's little chance CBA can attract voters. Vote them in the end. Japanese trade negotiators will use with subsidy cuts to force Japanese movement in politically damaging areas. Northman in 6 U.S. and Japanese held out 100% fear the Japanese farmers will persist elimination trade negotiators agreed to continue working for agriculture and negotiating will move forward using U.S. proposals. Starting point in Japan will reciprocate the plan through ag liberalization, but this will cost them the election. Read Kentucky Ag and Economics Professor 5D. Ag liberalization politically impossible be the strongest organization that agriculture, the influence of world voters, and the party liberalization agriculture too much. The Japanese politicians succumb to pressures from the outside that might stem from a Japanese cultural consensus. Legal framing allows international decision change the international image and would collapse with Japan alliance because the LDP is the only party that wants to have an alliance with the U.S. Security and the TGP has been critical of the relationship between the U.S. and Japan. The opposed Japanese place assistance to Afghanistan, the GGP demanded the U.S. move the airbase of Okinawa. I am very concerned whether the GGP can maintain the U.S.-Japan alliance. GGP's public support to true diplomacy and U.S.-Japan relations are key to regional stability. This is most likely standard for topic for every. And 8, the U.S.-Japan relations critical linchpin security organization for security, but also world economy. That relation offers Northeast Asia one of the most dynamic regions of foreign nuclear weapon states, lingering historical virus, and a serious territory is the most potential for discord next to the counterclaim. The United States federal government should propose in the form of a binding referendum preceded by public legislative debates that it should eliminate nearly all its capacity enhancing fishery subsidies, nearly all its fishery research subsidy. The United States federal government will implement the referendum if more than 50% of the voters say yes. Observation is the net benefits, lack of direct participation, national decision making is what allows for elites to dominate politics of the counterclaim will cause systemic transformation to more egalitarian, better government American democracy by following the University of Baltimore Law Professor 1, the foster psychological attitude, values, will of society, participation, debate, its skills, needs to sustain democracy, representative institutions are insufficient for deprives non-elites of access to the conditions of their own development experience and make people more tolerant, even more wider to account for the private interest in cooperation against rewarded benefits extend to the greater community. Their profound participation requires awareness and interdependence and a national referendum will jumpstart a transition of appropriate better democracy into our governance here in one UK. Discovered many countries that have a national referendum is seldom one-shot experience once used they lead to direct democracy, and this is crucial to making U.S. efforts to promote to global democracy effective time and aid for the effective promoting spark democracy that would be credible for democracy and weaving us better democracy, reforming democracy would appeal to advanced democracy resonate, and this solves everything. Diamond 95 nuclear, chemical, biological weapons, community proliferation, very life on Earth. The global ecosystem is increasingly dangerous socially. The beacons accountability, poverty, insomnia, openness. This country offers important lessons in countries and governments of truly democratic fashion. Do not go to work and other worry about other responsibilities. They must enter to known citizens to organize for the destruction of their environment and for referendum will solve fisheries. Florida proves her NRA 95 the purpose of Florida several debates in the brain ecosystem passing amendment program and the amendment reflects a long way down from the extensive what ended the debate over safer sea life or safer agricultural fisher people have said the need to protect disappearing great resources secure this fisher people. Next case. When the environment is indestructible, we're resilient, you support 95 the environment is supposed to indestructible, the environment is surrounded ice age, bombardments, cosmic radiation, collisions, asteroids, far more first man corruption, where the environment fragile human assaults in the environment, we are compared to the force of nature, and there's no impact to ocean fees, the massive size faults, any impact on Albert 1, the oceans are so incredible, their impact on them is astoundingly insignificant when overall action includes open seas, the widely seen in the minor consequences, and zooplankton decline makes all your impacts inevitable. Observer 1, the scientists discovered the levels of zooplankton have undergone dramatic declines, the problem threatens the rise of food chain devastating consequences, and there's no impact to coral reefs because they're resilient and disturbances would only increase their strength, even bleaching is beneficial. Bosman and two coral reefs have survived many challenges. Biologists to observe the reef's future. Coral reefs have greater recovery impact potential than many of their receptive frequent disturbance development. The higher ventilation competes with each other. These remarkably disturbed inner systems are destroyed. Environmental change and all cause to global warming. Global warming is killing sponges now. Aims in 8-12. These sea sponges are at risk of the higher these identical temperature threshold of the core speeds of bleaching, which break down the symbiotic relationship. The global economy has a significant impact on the microfunction, the community dynamics. There's no impact to disease because the trade-off between growth and spread, medical advances, and history produce foster privately homesick communities survive early disease 200,000 years of existence plagues, but none of them destroy the human targeting the race natural selection greatest germs that love the they go rose but too quickly light up the network would be essentially less than the recent improvement in medical science and the financial crisis would kill U.S. influence, ultimately 90 economic crisis dictatorship political cycle, neither resource in the global affairs to accelerate shifting or scratch that part. Also, the national commitments are all dead. Recent Supreme Court decision proof element 8. The conservative cause of prevailing the case defined constitutional errors. The case grew from half between Supreme Court ICJ, Bill Thormings, by were not finding law opinion, offended the rules for applying treaties. The U.S. courts have concluded some 70 or economic corporation left wondering the U.S. intended to abide by its treaty obligation, human treaty, the message of the world, because preventing the with the national commitments and nuclear powers inevitable. Jacob 9. Atomic power employees for Renaissance for 9% Americans. 2. The nuclear people candidates supporting power energy security has been unequivocal energy to standard. U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission received 17 applications. 26 nuclear proposals are now pending, and rotary warming is all now. Most security and 7 cannot stop the greenhouse gases. I think that up to 30% is good to see how any human response to dishabitate easily warming. This is making our future. We will take turn 5 times to the word for the Kyoto and an Indian will model their GHG reduction, foster 70 on our carbon emission goals, plus to second best with the right to include the Indian position in the country. We will do the best we can and we will match it. This means no Indian Pakistan pipeline keep us all war victory and by the first country between pragmatic approach foreign policy with co-campers via Pakistan. The people have pipeline past the rival economic relation hard to see will break the people sector of the Indian to outstanding, solve their outstanding issues. Yeah, that part. I didn't read 5.
On what conditions can you pick your counterclaim?
Status quo is always an option for the judge.
Okay, let's talk about the defense code's DA. Your first piece of evidence that says Obama needs a major political win says, but if Obama's early weeks in office show a creative and decisive political streak in the areas of domestic economic policy and climate change strategy, what happens to the defense budget as a signal test that we're far beyond the U.S.? Why would the plan be perceived as domestic economic policy or climate change policy?
Fishery subsidies isn't an economic policy.
It's not, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that your evidence is probably in the context of Obama boosting the economy, stuff like the stimulus, etc.
Yeah,
I don't
and-
really think the American public will be like, oh, cutting fisheries
Okay.
subsidies, Obama's getting our economy right back on track.
Two things. One, you would need to prove that he is currently a winner now, and we would argue that his stimulus was not a win for him, considering that it was massively cut down. People didn't vote for it. Secondly, we read a piece of link evidence that says, within the current context of defense spending and interest group politics, he needs a win within agricultural subsidies because it shows he can cut against interest group politics, and he was ineffective at doing that in things like the stimulus.
Let's talk a little bit about that first. You read this piece of Rutland evidence. It says, it's time for Obama to exercise the political muscle that will catch the attention of the members of Congress. I'm curious, it does say that he will exercise, that cutting it would exercise political muscle. I'm missing the part of this part that you think says that that use of political muscle will increase political muscle after that.
It says that it would result in Congress following the rest of his agenda.
I'm curious where you think it says that.
Action must happen. Members of Congress need to get their logs rolling in a different direction, referring to Obama resisting the impulsive action to satisfy the clamor. Here it says that he needs to create a broad public mandate that forces members to look at their broader interests. If we don't rise above big agriculture, we will.
Where does it say that that spills over to any other part of his agenda as opposed to he needs to get the ball rolling on agriculture?
No, that evidence indicates that Congress responds to agricultural subsidies related to interest group politics. We read spillover evidence. The uniqueness evidence says that if he has these type of wins, that would allow him to get defense cuts within the budget.
Okay. Let's talk about topicality. What piece of evidence do you think defines fisheries?
Fisheries, I think the Batsy's and Kane evidence.
I mean,
Where does the word
hold on,
fisheries?
I'll handle this. This is a definition of aquaculture. You can read definitions of fishery.
Where's aquaculture in the resolution?
Agriculture.
Where's agriculture in the resolution as opposed to agricultural support?
Yeah.
Okay. Agriculture is not a word in
Defining
that.
agricultural.
No, you're not defining agricultural. You're defining agriculture, which is the
Agricultural-
practice of producing crops and livestock from the natural
Agricultural
resources
is
of
a
the earth.
different form of the word agriculture. What? They have the same definition. Agricultural and agriculture are the same words, they're just different.
Just kind of clarifying, you just have a part which literally describes what agriculture is, that it is the basis of
Definition
Do you
of
have any part which
agriculture.
is in the context of agricultural support?
In the 1 and C, those evidence are defining agriculture.
Obviously, that's nice. You're really strong. Here, I bought you this coffee. No, you need it. Wait, let's go.
Oh shit, I got I do want to know.
Huh? I smelled that pumpkin? No, I think you smelled kind of pumpkin in there. Oh yeah, that's could be We get some.
Subsidy spec. Teeth. Gates. Those are another case is referendums and economy. And
You do all that over. Subsidy spec, teeth, case, referendums, economy did, Japan did, that's did.
Huh?
I think you can pass to the right.
yeah.
Really just not drop.
I can tear up every single page that we have.
Oh. Old news.
Everybody good? Okay, sir.
We still start research capacity enhancing subsidy. Additionally, prosecution they asked us, and we told us exactly what they were. Bruce wasn't keeping their strategy. No resolution based means they just less respect. He wanted to check because we're definitely based on predictable subsidy against all like some issue because the impact is alien to descend and you should go negative on the still reasons that the upper is a good idea that the plan is not a piece of legislation. The other topic violation with those no intention to find our is not. Economics of agricultural sport. The resolution is the baseline for rebuilding. Additionally, we mean our subsidies are talking about fishery subsidies that sharpens in Somalia in 2009. Government bodies have included the strong between subsidies and over United States of federal investment in fisheries development, marketing, promotion workers have a direct role in building capacity in the United States fisheries and federal workers as well as the person fishing investment and result in fishing capacity, parks, and the available cash and They exclude fisheries from the topics requiring their interpretation forces to defend things that are not the core of the fisheries, which we're talking because that is based on things like fuel subsidies and capacity enhancing substitution reasonability scheme because those really cause racial law and exclude critical case and there's no relevance because that is the white super produces WTO sees the land agricultural sport and interpretation agricultural sport fisheries and refers to substance given to divisions, etc. Racially, they made part of the resolution that the argument was above. Case. Basically, the environment is indestructible. However, our indicates that it is eternally going to be the result of human extinction because of overfishing that is causing things like jellyfish to fill in, etc. So the argument doesn't apply. In the context of our advantages, this is no impact on the ocean. However, this is not assuming global decline of icebergs that results from a jellyfish and collapsing things like coral reefs, which are a biodiversity hotspot, which is uniquely necessary to protect there. Even if the oceans are large, the coral reefs are uniquely vulnerable. Additionally, so is the border keys, sponges, and things like that. So because plankton makes nipple, however, our does not indicate this through their does not say that it results in the total decline of the ecosystem. Initially, if we solve for ocean biodiversity, we would be able to fill in more plankton because they would no longer have to be the jellyfish, so there's no impact for our indicates that it's a biological hotspot that is unique. We protect their efforts talking about bleaching, etc. However, our is talking about ripping them off the seabed, which is a little bit distinct. It's also causality sponges. However, our is specific to the Florida Keys and indicates that this is the communicating controlling to outcurrent, etc. Because this overseas impact, however, our journal is based on and talk about persistent evidence indicates that it will not result in extinction. We cannot cure antibiotic resistance with no stable solids by removing the biofilms that they find that will kill bombs influence. However, Obama's commitment to global environmental issues will lead to soft understandable that spending to this side of Bush law power class will welcome back to America with the ideological approach to answer some research yes. The president's representative who have made some public leaders and dual sectors of America's obligation towards international institution treaties, including environmental movements, really wish to recover America's operating world, yes, the world, so what for is here for the person being the world, or waiting who wants to give a new man what Obama's bid to restore American soft power has turned was then. They say that nuclear power is inevitable, however, nuclear power is on the way of initial terrorists and causing touch momentum, that's Davidson. And the Navy nuclear power is long until it was poised to build new generation nuclear power, nuclear momentum driven by colleagues in the nuclear energy chemical war, so covers takes the case of the signal of nuclear energy takes shape, research of nuclear energy is underway. But there will be a new reactor is depending on the success of the initial wave, and they say that the next argument they make is that runaway war reasonable, however, even if that's true, that's not a lot of revolution later that team, if that's not the Dr. Solomon said it would be runaway the reports that to curb carbon emissions if we're slow. Now we have farmer solution for artificial engineering and wanted to cover the way to remove gas in the atmosphere. Additionally, nuclear power solves because we would convert away from things like active emission, the impact of starting extinction that is our change level. Additionally, they can see their deforestation will inevitably result in extinction of stable solids by causing NDA credibility within the WTO, which means that the WTO will no longer be precluding environmental leadership. Additionally, our other impact is Gemini, they make these NDA will model GHG cuts. However, they've not written impact argument. Additionally, if it's true that they would model GHG cuts, means that Pakistan will probably model too, and even if they didn't, it would mean that there would only be energy insecurity, which probably is also another internal link to this argument.
Referendums.
One permutation to the counter. Additionally, that's here's definitional for this guy's agreement right into that. The clause following the full purpose of real business of the sense. Additionally, a referendum for illegitimate and voting issue does the entire declension our ability to consider adoption on uncertain makes them a moving target. So we can choose time strategy. Additionally, the counterplans issue can be textually and functionally otherwise negative. Again, limit the number of unpredictable normal means counterplans to voting issue. Additionally, Obama leadership signal is key. The counterplan does not increase presidential does not send a signal from Obama himself. It sends a signal from the American public. That's not that means that they did not capture our leadership and certainly issue. There's no spillover to global democracy. Additionally, the world's waiting on almost equal leadership will restore legally resilient Venezuela advantage in 120. There's reports that Obama control the global environment rapidly reaching with a healthy ecosystem for the world is used to Obama giving the to maintain by real time the natural heritage of the equal strength and bonds of friendship and also they would say no, the only people who would actually come to referendum are people who care about fishing subsidies who like fishes, etc. Additionally, conditionality, illegitimate and voting age point education by the time spent debating happens to be excused to sound strategy debating against multiple conditional rules and sees this conditionality solves our office down to the economy. Also, there's no internal link to global democracy or any sort of spillover argument whatsoever. There's no reason why this spills over to represent direct democracy, Senate representative democracy now to the economy. The one is that the economy is in the share now, actually, for really such tremendous tourism, value that's great for tourism, tourism, why, for the reach, great tourism, probably pride. Then the ends of jobs are billions of dollars in revenue, usually use not keep the global economy. That's actually just the president who said the world's only put on a locomotive economics rapidly emphasize the planet and the importance of using economic China military and getting straight. Version marks minimize by trading more capital, economic output, and there's no economy impact on any resources that have been in North 2000. Rules for competition requires large amount of resource levels and legislation may and regulatory very important resources domestic economy with better work economic trade for the take over for the big expensive social competition for national or ministries stuff and regulatory policy change with rivals more developing the economic situation ours and there's also absolutely no specific link to this argument whatsoever. The cuts going down the fast, which means that since they don't have a fishery specific link, there's no internal link to this argument now to Japan. LDP will lose down no help for that. China daily 2009, 42% of the vote for the GTP. That compares 22% who adopted the LDP. I don't think it has any means to enforce the question. Basic liability, trust and stability, which completely evaporate the LDP is a once-in-a-century crisis, and the LDP will still lose despite the scandal. So I will step down before the election, solving problems where it's pre-3 the Democrats had sent out to ask the LDP. Until close day was arrested, charged with illegal fundraising for the Democrats while it's fought, but if they change the leadership before the election, it will be okay. And the political pressure will moderate the GGP. That's Emory should win in 2009. The GGP leader has on fire political force where we're trying to be so the U.S. Navy established citizens fishing the governor ruling person points out about the beaches and building government other than the GGP Senate that as also a result of while he's more discussing security policy issues. Here, England is doing so with cost skins and And there's no issue worse because international organizations still do this. That's for sure. That's important. It's unlikely that the North Koreans will move toward conclusion takes between and how are unlikely to Europe to complement that the region also includes essentially people to that social state attack. See the ASEAN and our more research China's not being more aggressive Beijing appears. Potentially true how to plan peacefully and public press alliance collapse as all kinds to this night. Perceptive savings in the alliance situation making the next control and rooted from learning the Japanese both mind many people now to that country. Sure, the right direction of the right flex self must maintain a bolster the U.S. alliance. Japan has a significant diplomatic muscle to win. But for reassurance the next rolling to keep U.S. Japan alliance intact. No threats to the defense of high military spending is not even that spanned over 310. The U.S. spends more on military than it did during the global war. The Soviet Union works that Washington is almost much worse. World Command military forces does not say the U.S. vastly outranges both military. China is creating defense force on defense for American Virginia and beautiful North Korea, Iran, Cuba, Burma, Venezuela, and Gates will push against the world's opposition to defense because that's possible 317. The United States cannot limit the rest of the risk of the higher defense against the Gates preparing half of the work to handle this bit more comfort are expected this year. Gates preparing credibility to help overcome the outbreak and the dissent is substantial. Speculation that Washington independent 324 Obama says no specific how to make any given weapons system. The question of whether forthcoming. That's what will delineate specifically whether the explanation will come from by the Pentagon. Releases new guidelines. Additionally, there's no internal link theory impact argument. It is not a cut in defense. It is a decrease in the amount of increase of the budget itself. So there's no reason why since we spend the most percentage of the GDP defense that it would actually cause some sort of like perception based argument. Additionally, Obama pressure tax fail. He is standing into the party. It doesn't work out. That's Baltimore on 3.7 can persuade Republicans to Obama budget. He's working into those and from conservative Democrats and anyone else who might be working toward Republicans from the tax and Obama's supporting lobbies now that strategy fails. Is the EC's around 3.3 working Obama's promising to be down there. The people who lobby Washington 70 popular approach could back our own husband give the mascara for Sam he's running his most partisan candidate who wanted to change the side of this Washington. He keep running the risk of getting linked and their evidence says that Obama's win on the economy, however, there's no interruption link to the fissures. Obviously, Obama has a ton of capital, but winners lose will go quickly. That's Ryan in 2019. Given the structure policy, we did little to deliver happily before making many changes during U-turns. These are Obama will give his vast accumulation of capital, which most will sense really renewable wonderful leaders who do not in political capital that's 100 many years following them complain about being treated on the on the face of it. Is that American politics not a winner take all system? It's pluralistic and getting anything done politically president can negotiate argument and engage in serious work in the system was engineered for overbearing majorities, from inspiring to tyrannical majorities and they can't win a bandwagon they finance the state politics and they can control power players as recovered triggered in 2006. The real environment is on the other side. It's up for restoring cycle money, vast political power that made agriculture the most successful special department represented by corporate long-term, long-term regulars that band together and keep the also in the Senate equal representation is voting equal political weight. Long as you use it in the partial summer for non-agriculture states for 70 stuff long, and those that back other programs and more derails foreign terrorism. That's 2007. Conversation likely to be kept to the House side of the local likely to reject the war terror for integration most into the global economic system around political world could disband the most world again peaceful integrating competition itself will completely derail that this integration.
And permanent ban passes the defense budget.
Did the timer go off?
The timer will open up first before I get that.
Scratching that, you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. One more time to read on this sheet. Are you just going to start? Yeah. The theory arguments in the counterclaim or referendum to that and conditionality to that? Am I misinterpreting or misunderstanding here?
Well, by theory argument, you mean like a reason to reject.
Yes.
Yes, those are the I mean, we made like reasons why you have to be like textual functions and all that stuff.
Okay. Kind of confused. You read two pieces of evidence that Obama's confronting lobbies right now and the strategy's failing. That seems to be kind of the thesis of our dissent, that Obama tries to do things, but he's being a loser. Do you have any evidence that contextualizes when he confronts these lobbies and actually succeeds?
No, those two pieces of evidence certainly don't.
Okay, so these cards are uniqueness for the dissent. This evidence, you say Gates will push and get it done. It overwhelms opposition. This evidence is from 2 weeks ago. Do you have any evidence about the most recent?
317. That's like 11. It's not really 2 weeks.
13 days. Today's the 30th.
Oh, fair enough. Well, it's still not 2 weeks.
Okay. The reason why Gates is pushing for it is because he is Obama's defense secretary. Do you have any evidence that...
I mean, he was also Bush's defense secretary.
Yes,
so
yes, but now he's in the current administration. Do you have any evidence that says his capital is independent of Obama's?
I mean, that piece of evidence is pretty explicit that he's the one
It just
that
says he has a bunch of credibility being a military hawk, so people won't
Gates
oppose
is
him.
preparing major weapons cancellations this month because of Joe Obama's budget. More cuts are planned for later this year. The point of our dissent that that's what he wants to do. Gates is preparing to use his credibility
Right.
to help
The point is,
Obama.
Gates
There's any
is
evidence
doing
that
this.
that credibility is affected because we really need this evidence that it's not because the Congress people don't care about Gates' credibility because they
The
don't want to
20
take on
not
the
written
office.
internal link that said that Congress cares about Gates.
Okay.
I mean, that piece of evidence says that he's the one that's pushing it, so
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, I want to talk about some of your case arguments. Read two cards that commitment to global environmental issues is important. This card, your Kennedy evidence, says the Europeans of Europe, Canada, Austria, as they must take seriously America's obligation towards international institutions and treaties, including environmental, anti-protectionist commitments, and the moderate Arab hopes to offer more than lip service to the Palestinians. You read that fisheries is sufficient to solve U.S. leadership.
We have a couple pieces of 1AC evidence that make this claim. Or
Yes, but then you read 2AC evidence that says it is much broader than fisheries. I don't understand why you didn't take out this advantage.
Well, actually, that piece of evidence does not say
One
that.
piece of evidence says that Obama has a pretty broad base of credibility, but he just needs to do something, take an initial action and a commitment that shows he's willing to translate that software into policy. He doesn't
And
have
it
to
seems
address
like people
every
are-
issue, he just has to kind of make
The piece of environmental specific evidence you read, where does this say fisheries? Where does this say subsidies? Where does this say agriculture?
Right, we read an internal link
It
to
seems like it's
ecological
talking about
leadership.
things like
We have to treat multiple
Kyoto,
internal
things
links.
like major international agreements, not unilateral fishery subsidies.
Well, there is a
And then our
international
spillover argument, which wasn't
WTO
answered.
discussion on global fisheries subsidies, which is what the flame of things.
I have two questions real quick. You have referenced the WTO card from the case on T. Can I get that? Also, can you repeat your counter interpretation?
Yeah, I have it written down, so I can
If
do
I can get that. There was no card for it, right?
For that kind of interpretation.
Was there another counter interpretation?
No, we just kind of.
If I can get the WTO card and
Always scared that thing's just gonna.
counter interpretation.
It's reasonably stable. It's not that expensive. It's like 100.
First two subsidies given to fishers.
And Matt, the last part you read before, I don't have your bottom two arguments. Do you have those in politics?
Yeah. Let's see what well, here's this one.
Here's that.
We've got answers to that. We don't.
Okay, so this was the second to last part, right?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
We can use it.
I have the answers.
I was just gonna say. I don't know about this on that. I mean, I think we can talk about this too.
Hey, can you give me my pen back?
Oh, my bad.
I was really confused.
I got it. That's like too, so just use it for yourself.
Yeah. That's my case. I'm going to be fast.
Okay, I'm good. Sorry, 660?
616.
Okay.
616 would be stuff.
Oh, actually, I never got that WTO card.
The
Do you have the
what?
one I see?
We might.
How much does?
It's on the floor there.
The ad has 452.
If you can give me that card, then I'm gonna take a little bit of prep after I get this card.
Yeah. Which card is it?
It's no problem.
I don't want to see it. Do you have any
Thought that was all we had.
Although if you can do something with action and elevate yourself at the ceiling, that would be better. Plus, I like to see it.
Pretty good, man.
You get a good full point there, you know, on the sidewalk.
Negotiations.
Yeah.
All I can do is, build big boats. I don't have that skill yet.
You can build big boats.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
God tells him to keep it, so get that.
Okay.
And as soon as you point to the section of the card you're defining as your T evidence, I'll
Just
start.
going with like the, you don't know
Yeah,
what you're
just
about
talking
to
about
say.
The upper part of the card?
Yeah.
No, I was talking about biblical, but
Hey, can I get that WTO stuff back?
I wish I could go with
Thanks.
yes. You don't know that you can't, you know, try.
Okay, stop prep.
this. It's true.
Be ready to charge me all the time. This is gonna be baller. I will try, but
Are you more right,
honestly,
faster?
no
Okay.
So,
You carry a lot, you sign on. Yeah.
it probably is. But I will try. Usually can see if you get that much money. So like on my face, I don't take that as I think personally.
I won't take it for you.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, hey, we forgot to number 2 AC evidence.
Yeah, this means
Lie. That's bad. And we don't like our answers.
But if you want, you probably recruit flows.
Yeah.
It's bad. Alright. You should keep that like before the 2 AR.
Do you want, which flow should I turn now? I'm not gonna need that flow.
You know what's tight is that on debate results.
Yeah. One saver. You too?
Yeah, I'm just keep going. That's nice.
Oh, okay.
Alright. Topicality with a large overview?
Large overview.
I think so.
Card.
There's no cards, but I'll be there for
Some range.
there'll be some range. Economy, counterplan, case. Yes, one and six.
I hadn't really ever thought about it before now, but I'm immediately drawn to the idea. God, stress is tall. You've been good choice.
Ready? You should probably do your teamwork before you break into our interpretations. Agriculture is support refers to farming, not hunting or capture. Agriculture implies an element of breeding that doesn't exist in hunting or capture fisheries. Agriculture is the word that humans invented and used to define the systems of food production that were created in opposition to hunting and fishing. Agricultural is literally defined by its exclusion of fishing. Therefore, reducing agricultural support for fisheries exclusively means eliminating subsidies for aquaculture. Fisheries are distinct from fishing. You have to eliminate subsidies for fishing, not for fisheries. This is the most resolutionally coherent definition of aquaculture. Agriculture is farming, not hunting. You can't hunt corn. You don't capture cotton. You grow them. The only other livestock sections of the topic, cattle and dairies, are defined exclusively as cultivation, not capture. You should air negative and towards competing interpretations in this debate. First, this debate's role by aliens and biased competing interpretations is crucial to informed decision making. We can't test or fairly debate arguments for less prepare for any loss of fairness, even if only marginal makes the difference into his presumption. Give us a presumption to counteract traditional half biases. It's a new half. They should have been more prepared than us. And additionally, go to the line by line. They say by definition is not an intent
intent to define. This is ridiculous. Our Columbia Encyclopedia evidence says that agriculture is literally defined by its opposition to fishing because the word came into being to exclude things like fishing and hunting are random. House the dictionary evidence is from a dictionary, so I'm pretty sure it has the intent to define. They make the argument that it's not agricultural support, but agricultural is derived from agriculture, so if we control what agriculture is, that controls agricultural, and support is irrelevant. It's just modifying agriculture. They still have to meet the word agriculture. They say they meet because the fisheries extend our Batis and Kaelin evidence from the one in sea. Aquaculture is agriculture. It's distinct from capture fishing. The key word is culture, which implies cultivation. Capture fishing is not cultivation. The domestication and raising of livestock is the opposite of agriculture. The entirety of the one in sea is about capture fishing. The cross-text proves they define the plan as lifting subsidies for capture fishing. When they talk about the fleets that are in the ocean and things like fuel subsidies at the beginning of the cross-text, they explicitly defend ending overfishing for capture fishing. This proves the link to the violation, and even if they prove the plan text alone could be topical, does it make it topical? Don't just refer to the plan text. Cross-text clarifies and defines what the plan means and how it is implemented, which means they granted us a link in cross-text and they're on a double line. Even if they win some sort of plan in a vacuum, ignore cross-text arguments, which would be cheating, you would reject them for severing cross-text, and they wouldn't solve any of the case because all their impacts are defined from capture fishing, which means you would vote negative on presumption. Now, they say fisheries, but agricultural support should be the controlling language, not fisheries. There's no predictable definition of fisheries. Pauly and Sick, the FAO expert consultation on fisheries failed to reach an agreement on the definition of a fishery subsidy, partly because the conceptual issues related to policy and the relevance of active subsidies, and the definitions of fisheries are politicized and not mutually defined, which makes them unpredictable. Pauly and Sick, the definition of a fishing subsidy is not a policy-neutral exercise, especially in the context of the debate over calls for subsidy reforms, and fisheries require breeding. The term refers to farming, not capturing. Random House Law British Dictionary, 6 fisheries, a place where fish are bred in fish hatchery, and fisheries means aquaculture. The most predictable legal interpretation proves U.S. Code 7. The Secretary of Agriculture is directed to implement a process for the enhancement of fisheries resources through fish hatchery and aquaculture facilities, and additionally, they make the argument that we exclude the core of the topic. This is ridiculous. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. The core of the topic is defined by the literature, not what 3 teams reading fisheries say it is. Just because the first team to read fisheries done or one way doesn't make a right or topical. Common sense alone demonstrates our interpretation of agriculture is the more logical core of the topic. Agriculture is about farming. Hunting fish is not farming. You can't hunt corn. You can't capture cotton. Our interpretation is the most resolutionally coherent, and Dartmouth proves that these aquaculture apps are viable and topical. They win almost all of their 2 debates, and they say that their WTO evidence indicates that they would be topical. The WTO evidence says fishing subsidies, not fisheries subsidies. The entire point of our violation is that fisheries are defined in opposition to fishing subsidies, and the counter-interpretation 1 is no evidence means no chance in this debate. We have a limit for our interpretation because it's based on the literature. We have evidence for it. They don't means theirs is entirely unpredictable. We have a limit this and they ground this to their interpretation versus the predictable limits. Our interpretation is key to provide the most coherent logical picture of the resolution. Agricultural support is support for farming, not hunting or capturing. We control 2 best internal links to predictable limits. A is precision. Our definition of agriculture is the most precise. Our random house evidence indicates that agricultural requires breeding, speaks of fish, farms, not capture fishing, and authority explained our Columbia Encyclopedia evidence. And bidirectionality, defining agricultural support of fisheries as capture has no support. The literature is extremely unpredictable. The alternative is to allow both capture and cultivation in the fisheries area. This doubles the number of fisheries out on already overburdened topics, raising the number of topic areas from 10 to 11 and crushing negative ground. Second is ground, including, this is a conceded argument by the way, including capture in agriculture destroys negative ground. It's in our PR inside evidence. The U.S. already eliminated the majority of its capture subsidies, destroying substantive discount ground. The U.S. already called for the elimination of these subsidies for capture fishing. This forces us to debate attitudinally non-inherent acts, which makes them possibly negative. We lose the best link ground, and also the act is attitudinally uninherent. This is a voting issue. They consider that attitudinal inherency is key to negative ground. Dropped argument. They dropped both our standards and read a counter-interpretation without evidence. I'm pretty sure it's game over. This would be an easy battle. Now, the economy decided not going to extend the U.S. is in key extend that there's no war, extend that the U.S. economy is in the crapper. This takes out your advantage standards. 1990, declining growth is better known for fostering conflict, accelerated exploitation of resources rather than the cooperation and protection of the environment. Now, the counterplan not going for conditionality is good. Critical thinking conditionality forces you have to be strategic on arguments they make in the negative to learn good decision-making skills. Second is our interpretation checks their offense, logical limit counterplans with this middle ground. We get 1 preserved negative flexibility because we have logical versions as SFO and after having multiple advocacies, and text negative strategy allowing version of this has keep check out predictable laugh arguments to easy add-ons, and T outweighs and determines what we have to read. We have to read bad strategies because you read an untopical laugh. It's your fault, and optimal decision-making conditionality is key to find the optimal policy to maximize the decision-making process. Multiple perspectives are key to viability of the entire plan. And the offense is not unique. Time is trying to excuse our memorable 20 yards, 6 minutes, answer 15 minutes. The most real policymakers don't protect the status quo merely because an alternative is inferior. The interpretation is logical, and no abuse bonusing is not of offense because the status quo should have a defense of their agency, and conditionality is reciprocal permutations check, and checks have bias. They have to speak first and last as the time you should err. Negative flexibility on theory, and the broken new average means you should err. To our system solves doesn't work. Keeps us at place like feet after the plan of force permutation after never take the negative with the counterplan, and the counter-interpretations on theory are arbitrary, can always make minor modifications that leave slightly more further than negative, would never really counterplan debate, and it doesn't have to be the opposite of our counter-interpretation. They say refs are bad, relevant is key to negative ground. If you're talking, there's no ground unless you have this only ground that can impact your democracy. Referendums are direct democracy, even if they don't have those files, you should have a democracy file, and they have 9 minutes of offense, which is the one to see they only do one win one argument, say no, and you reject the argument, not the team, because its conditionality is good. Conditional obviously are good because they have the flexibility, and you get say no arguments, which means there's increased ground. The case debates, and the environment is resilient. Our history evidence indicates that it's indestructible. It answers all other environmental impacts. It's contextual. Our longer evidence, which says it's specifically true in the oceans because they're so big now. Go to the coral argument they conceded. Our evidence that coral reefs are resilient and connectivity ensures no impact on the planet in 2002. The coral reefs can be resilient to multiple scales of disturbances. Individual reefs may be replenished by recruitment of planktonic larvae derived from other resources. Social microcurrents are potentially built larvae across hundreds of thousands of kilometers. The combination of spatial heterogeneity and refuge and reef systems and fraternity and a physically stable but moving transport system of currents ensures the connectivity around reefs is required for recovery. This is an important aspect of ecological resilience. And additionally, their disease arguments facility or positive evidence indicts the antibiotic claim, saying that virulence trades off with transmissibility. So even if the diseases become more powerful, that just means they will kill their victims quicker, which makes the disease more impotent and less likely to spread. Meaning there is no destruction from the disease. They extend our multilateral. Some evidence arguments indicates that the Supreme Court dooms attempts to be multilateral, kills their internal hegemony because the Supreme Court is going to nullify all of the actions that Obama takes. Their nuclear power arguments are wrong because of a fuel crisis. MIT Tech Talk in 7. The limit supplies for nuclear power plants can afford the interest in nuclear energy. The industry lives off inventories, which are now gone worldwide. Uranium production meets only 65% of requirements. That storage of uranium and processing leaves gap and potential increasing demand and the ability to supply fuel for and extend our climate change inevitable is required. Evidence is the best evidence I've ever seen on this question. It says that warming is literally baked into the earth. There's no changing it because the gases are already in the atmosphere and it is impossible to remove them. Here is more evidence, more scientifically qualified. Can't reverse warming, save every day. The excessive emissions are not only the cause of climate change, but they're the greatest answer practices that ensure desertification, increase carbon dioxide for fires and soils, and stopping the carbon emissions will not entirely solve because of part of a massive global environmental malfunction, not contributing to carbon. If we tomorrow somehow achieve zero emissions, we'll still not avert a major catastrophe. Grassland and savanna burning would continue desertification, would continue to accelerate soils, and be unable to alter the storage of carbon, and the climate would continue to change. And additionally, this takes out their sponge arguments. They concede that warming kills sponges, global warming inevitable, to no advantage, and to grow back Saul's depot, 0 times 129. Tropical countries farm out are reverting back to nature as people in the city. Secondary force are emerging Latin America, Asian, other tropical regions that have fast-paced saving the rainforest, maybe less urgent for every acre cut down. More than 50 new forests are added. The new forests necessary could blunt the effects of destruction by absorbing carbon. They provide a habitat for endangered species. The notion of gain currency with mainstream organizations like the Smithsonian and the UN biologists were ignoring trends, and that's just wrong. Now, go on to the second page of case cards. They said they said they don't have a standard answer. Our evidence indicates that Indians who are going to model the U.S. they decrease emissions that causes them to destroy the peace pipeline to prevent a war with Pakistan and all the politics to that. On the top, hard power is key. We saw the escalation of all conflict and the soft power arguments. Parameter 9. The U.S. military will remain useful. The world's oil and gas will continue to provide safe force. The world, the U.S. has a global naval presence. The other countries will continue to count on Washington. That gives U.S. policy makers leverage. U.S. produces the global public goods will also receive new neighboring military challenges that several Eastern European governments worry they'll turn to the U.S. by NATO to ease their fears. The U.S. military will also remain essential to America's soft power arsenal by delivering relief to victims of natural disasters. With a conventional superiority is not on a lock war with 2K9. The rate of changing military power is not constant, and the conventional superiority is far from assured. Innovations could alter the requirements for producing a military power faster than anticipated, placing U.S. conventional superiority at risk while the U.S. could strategically die by 1,000 deaths, could also die from a single interstate knockout. Kevin Stocker, knockout.
Okay, I just want to like.
One question: did you read all these cards?
The secrets.
Up to U.S. code.
Okay, I just want to talk about your key violation for a second. So, I don't know if you knew this, but fish live in the water, and in aquaculture, etc., we don't keep them in little like 1 foot by 1 foot cages where we raise them.
They're not that tiny cages, but we do keep them in cages.
Okay, well, by cages you mean like lagoons that are like grouped up. But the point is, you never would have to remove them from the water some way. So my question is, how does your definition make any sense of how to allow any fishery whatsoever if you can't catch them?
In cultivating, because those resources are cultivated, they are kept in cages. You're wrong. A couple of things I want to say that are really important. This argument was not in the 2AC, which means the judges should not evaluate it. I would have read cards. If I needed to read a card on there are cages in aquaculture, I would have made this argument. I'm never going to in this debate because it's supposed to be in the 2AC. But you're just wrong.
That's sort of like a 2C.
We read evidence of the 1C that aquaculture is cultivated and that the word cultivation is the core of the topic.
Right, but I don't understand how you get the fish out of the water if you don't catch them.
You
you remove them. Like,
from what?
There's a difference between hunting fish and farming them. Our agricultural.
I understand all your like historical definitions of agriculture and opposition to hunting. But I want to know how you get the fish out of the water. Like,
It's not a question of removal, it is a question of culture. Look, agriculture, aquaculture, get it? Culture and culture.
Okay, because they both have the word
so
culture.
even if you remove them from the water with a net, because they're in water, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not a question of the process of
Okay, so
removal,
what's the parallel between using a net and hunting?
I'm sorry?
Well, okay, if what you just said is true, and that if you do catch them in a net, it still means that it's not like
This is really
cultivation.
silly. The process of acquiring those resources from the water is different from the big picture question of how do we create those resources. The difference is political, and the difference is in the types of subsidies that exist for those types of things. There are different subsidies for fuel subsidies for fishing. We have a different debate about that as a negative team we should not be prepared for, because it's not.
Okay, so things like research subsidies, which are in the plan text, which obviously partially go to things like aquaculture developments. That means that we're not topical since we include research.
You could potentially win. You include some topical subsidies.
So if we have topical
subsidies
action
for capture fisheries, like you don't make this argument in this way.
We said we need
our
on
point
the
is,
subsidy spec. I think that's a legitimate cross-application, personally. Turkey's not considered.
I don't know about that, but I think that you include the elimination of subsidies for capture fisheries, which gives you a part of their advantage to the fact that it's not topical. The entirety of your
Wait, so this is an extra topicality?
No, it is not. The entirety of your case is derived from untopical subsidies, which means we don't have grounds to debate.
Except for the research subsidies, which can go to aquaculture, which can
Even
go
if
to
you make a unique argument, you don't impact it into a C.
Order is the Japan dissent and politics, a little stuff at the top.
Like more at peace crap.
Yeah.
I didn't grab those two cards. Do you have those two cards that you read at the bottom of your screen? Yeah, that's fair.
I thought you only handed.
I just heard you take the first card.
I'll take the shirt.
Okay, let me check mine. Okay, yeah, I have the first card here. And the second one is confession speech.
This one
all
here?
yellow, all orange.
All yellow, all orange.
All right. Good.
I don't want help much, but can we close that door?
That's a good idea.
We talk 17 and stop yelling.
That's fine.
Why is he so angry?
You're going to do it. Do that. We'll try to unplug. Hang on a second. I'm okay if you don't want to. But no,
There's some back here.
Are we sure everyone wants to figure this out now?
There's a loose one right here.
Okay. Okay.
Japan is not going for LP is going to lose, but the GDP is going to matter, which means there's no impact. They say there's no snare for Asia where this doesn't take out the disorder based on the aggression by the perception of decreasing our defense concentration. We have impacts on multiple impacts outside of Asia, which means it's totally around politics. Because we support their leadership arguments, because the only stubborn leadership is we have a hard boundary, that means it's also critical software, which means they can solve, and their advantage does not solve the disadvantage, because there's no reason why Robert leadership be able to solve for defense cuts, which would be solving the aggression of other nations. We also solve the German escalation of all conflicts. There's no need for conflict in a world where countries don't fear their Robert leadership. Was it too long to recover? So I should prefer back the FP and AP for the empty promises address more the unfulfilled pledge of the addiction of oil, which the legacy and destruction of the natural escating will take many years to undo even their evidence indicating things like anti-protection or critical. There's one reason why they don't. So if you prefer the dissent line, they say there are no threats. One is from the top of the 2 series piece of evidence that says conventional superiority is not a weapon. If we have even a modern to contemplate the great war, here's part of the evidence that worst case scenario, the US lose conventional war superior and actually push the effective great power environmental competition. US currently faces an overproduction is critical, which means whether or not there are threats to us because we need to be prepared for everything. And even the F-22 is critical. and gentlemen, and to get there was a big difference between the one strictly choosing the one and the lowers making the relax. However, no one within the American needs for the lowers, this is especially through the crisis industrial getting the economic crisis, particularly crisis. Additionally, this doesn't answer the question of perception and creating instability. Also, at least a great draws on works that control the US. They say Gates one is this is our community. This argument that A, it's not going to pass with Europe system. Simply sees when use credibility, not again because the prefer when he represents the Gates credibility only drives from Obama, which means to control the Obama argument. Answer this argument they say our evidence is speculation. The evidence just says that they don't know what weapons program's going to come, which is kind of one of the just said that right now they're going to be aggregate defense cuts, which is going to force a decrease in our specific weapons program, regardless of whatever they are, and encourage perception, and which is very likely to lead to conflict. And this would prevent our ability to deal with failed states, words and German to unite with conventional superiority, providing in terms of prevent hosts of conventional regular odds and the impacts of the conflict, words and German to unite with many of the states that failed. Speak to one of the program history success and not perfection experience. The example of the state the potential WD for North Korea vaccine WD program development is a very high scenario. They say and go back to the Gates. So they're not going to be defense cuts now. Wait in line with Obama's administration always the same 40 billion acquisition change in order counter politics change procurement. It's helping the plans to be from the House, and he needs more political muscle to get it through. Reuters in 90, he must try to test word not waste procurement system. It would take the action lobbies. Defense countries very good and around their job. He's not going to get acronym. And 9 Obama's the attack based on Pentagon spending the most interest in Washington defense performance officer. Not making they are the allies of government 9 money Gates that's all the acronym and 90 and just fraud hyperbole chambliss and not give me a pen. Portrayed Pentagon officials expect more in service energy of reform is people who run the service industry average Republican person 2002 without injuring the American public and costing some of our lives when they fight. They say it doesn't hurt the budget. Their evidence is not specific. It doesn't assume a crossing about the aggregate defense. It's even nothing specific. It's got and it would hurt our defense with the standard denial. Although Obama's based on budget seems to reflect problems would be cut from the cost of operation. Obama's claims, although more less than 1/3 of the cost taking seriously security implication of Obama's are showing that higher there are now major threats are received conflicts which are very effects are high. Also, he did not read a piece of evidence on this, which responds should not allow me to the one here to say that in the argument development means we cannot read evidence and the argument and we don't get a cross-sex on it. Responds you should not allow same argument best argument suggesting that we should prefer the one and evidence to say that their next argument to the point of the dissent that Obama is failing right now was this also takes all their offense because proves that Obama is taking on lobbies now, which means there's no propensity for a link or result of the link. Unique, this is not unique, which means only a chance he wins. Now, above their previous wins argument, all those wins are insufficient because A, they don't want the party, which means he doesn't use political muscle. B, issue specific uniqueness, he's not going to defense with now, which means there's only a chance that they would increase the credibility. C is the link uniqueness, he's not a winner now, which means none of his previous ones have been sufficient, and Democrats are split, which means you don't have uniqueness. Here, and 3% of the book critics have been bashing Obama's second of playing larger in healthcare. They the big attention over the Senate been questioning the pockets of controversial conservative reduced incrementalism, primary results, right? Democrats and Republicans for reducing states are opposed. The defeat of the Grassley Amendment proves we have uniqueness to agricultural losses, which is critical to Farm and 9, the first skirmish over the payment limit to the amendment would be capped at the farm payments. The Grassley Dartmouth campaign is now endorsed among Obama's budget proposal, and Democrats are losing the obvious and 326 Obama's inventions campaign for sweeping change to go down to the bid of incremental change for recent plans for reform, like healthcare reform, no labor, sustainability, education, they didn't read any evidence about specific ones for reason why you should not allow you on your application because that is all. See, that group over there, arguments the losers losing. There's not going to be a spillover. We are the only ones for the arguments, so Obama will not tackle the defense lobbies right now, but that's Roger's evidence around here. Robin says that if he gets the law going in a different direction by exercising subsidy cuts, it would show political muscle to catch attention. There's only a chance of these all the returns go negative. If it is true that the plan is popular and would cost political capital, our arguments you would regenerate all of that after it gets, which means they have no evidence about what happens after he starts that competition. There's no chance of winter. There's no reason why the public would care about defense cuts, which means they do not have a spillover in cutting subsidies. A huge win for Obama on the budget. He needs to lock it down to prove that he has a mandate for the budget. While go through Obama's budget, white House teacher and Congress that's come early, a lot of attention, but really decides anything except for the narrow interest. They are not allowed truly winning across the mandate. That's the problem facing Obama's campaign. They are what Obama never used to be playing. Pakistan step nothing back to him. Breaking enjoy the state against trouble. The gender around the White House is running up against Williano to make it grow in the political sentiment of defense funding and subsidies reopen. To that debate, Obama's letting Congress push him. He needs a win. It's all for 329. Obama's the man, the commander on the promise for change. This month, Democrats said the president, the budget letter, the bill included the project command against your the president is picking his battle stockpile. His political capital, letting the Congress push him around Capitol for either party needs about the party's office agenda pipes and that he is in control of the party's strategic. The leaders have to let their own platform so American sport help convince Americans pregnant only man and stand evidence exists that would hurt him. He needs to get credit and he would agree. Generate the capital after he's Benson singer and not despite the country struggling kind of vote opposition whose policy is one favorite deliverance all time. And I still believe the capital is fine, but when the president spends a great deal of capital measure through sports and acts, he succeeds, he builds more capital this years what he does. When their bottom argument is that warming kills warming, kills water, war, terrorism. Once this is not our impact to his defense would continue such a long time frame and unilateral cuts are impossible to solve. This Harvard and liberalization has been unilateral and nothing changes needs to know unilateral rest of there's need for greater much for the W2 more sort of approaches that is spent.
How much time do they have? 4:50. Do that.
Well,
Yeah, there's a plug back here.
That was your office appearance.
Make sure there wasn't like two lines of words. If there is, I'm probably not understanding it because I don't have it.
She's not having a referendum.
Everything was that in case.
You start talking first, but I guess like you know well, honestly, this was it was fascinating. I tweet that it sounds crazy, but between the announcement of the decision of the 4-1 and the 5 seconds later when I started talking, I forgot that it was the 4-1 and not 5-0. And and so you started talking about it. Yeah.
I know the feeling. Announcement.
Yeah, good.
Just I also remember that debate in Washington. It shouldn't have. Actually, he was told that somebody else because I don't.
Yeah, I saw her.
Make sure I'm not cheap on the topic. They had 2:30-ish.
No, I do.
Subsidy spec T at the economy DA case.
Kind of fun wasn't in order, right?
Who's not? Yeah, correct. Good.
Subsidies back in continue the plan includes research subsidies that affects also aquaculture as well, even if the right business approves it when the extra topicality, but that means they still have predictable grounds. The only offense they say on topicality, they say agriculture is supported based on farming. Their evidence does not support their interpretation defines agriculture, not agricultural sport, and it also defines it as literally the process of tilling the land, and the piece of evidence defines aquaculture, says aquaculture is quote the agriculture of the ocean. It's not intended to define, it's just a reference line how they're similar. They have zero evidence. Their definition of agriculture says it has to be tilling the land, which means their definition doesn't include aquaculture as well, which means it excludes every part of the fisheries topic that's arbitrary. Anything that moves one part of the resolution is arbitrary proves then there's no basis for predictability. All that offense would be all offense would be provided on which I don't have black based on what the resolution says, not on what some superintendent defines that culture as competing interpretations used for reasonability in this context. All less based on arbitrary basis at the bottom. The only offense arguments they go for are based on precision, etc. They have no real reason why life is bad for the nature of debate. The question for topicality should be whether or not our version of our fermented impossible is going to be topical. They have zero reason why it's any easier for them to answer an aquaculture after it is them to answer a fisheries definition put on topicality does not impact precision externally to how it affects vision and faith being sort of there's not an impact on their ground fairness, etc. That are not overcome. Now they don't have intent to define their defines agriculture, not agriculture support used for all reference defines fisheries and defines fishery subsidies, talks about in the context of WTO negotiations on fishery subsidies, talks about capacity building subsidies, etc. Was what the plan cuts, which Bruce Rod's predictable. You can see the argument you made in the 2 and C. The topic is defined by the literature. The literature on fisheries is defined by cutting the fisheries goes in people fleets out of the ocean, not defined by aquaculture proven by how arbitrary and tiny Jarvis Act is and how irrelevant it is and how little should look at agricultural, especially to define agricultural and agricultural. Also, their evidence on this much is terrible. There are two pieces of poly evidence says there's problems defining subsidies. Now there's a problem defining what a fishery is. There's a piece of Brandon House evidence says that a fishery is a place where fish are bred. Fish breed naturally in the ocean, which means that if you go and hunt fish out of the ocean, it's not build your units, but it's just as aquaculture is part of our fisheries resources. It's not an exclusive definition. What takes it off is the Darwin evidence that's terrible. And Genie was the reason why their version is bad, not the reason why it's good. They're living to a stupid decision. Is not the not the context of subsidies, or it's not the context of subsidy of fisheries, in the context of just agriculture. In manufacturing and precision should be defined by the topic, not precision. In terms of dictionary terms, it's not bi-directional because aquaculture and fisheries don't go in opposite directions. And the worst case scenario, they have to cut a case next to both, which is not the impact you. There's not a reason why 11 parts of the top are any worse than 11 parts are any worse than 10. And article is much better now. The economy disact doesn't take out a case. They can see the economy slow down, but the occupancy, the reefs are critical to the economy, which we use. The economy also, the revenue also apply the AFI, solves we get guaranteed the plan comes through, we produce environmental leadership and guarantee that fishery subsidies overcome the case of the United States resilience doesn't assume our global drilling. They conceded the plan as model to create global subsidy stuff. They conceded the massive destruction of the overall oceans globally is inevitable. The reason that it's resilient is because we're fishing our prey deficits. The ocean can survive everything as long as we're not overfishing. But once you start overfishing, basically collapse everything else. Our prey deficit gets cause extinction. It's critical to nutrient recycling, etc. Without biodiversity, can't perform any of its ecosystem functions, makes extinction inevitable. You should prefer this over the war scenarios because it's always possible to use diplomacy to back up black crisis. We can't control environmental crisis. Putting over a reefs are going to concede. They're resilient for sponge dams. They're warming evidence doesn't indicate kill sponges, and it doesn't indicate kill sponges in the Florida Keys. Or doesn't indicate kill sponges in the Florida Keys. The best case when it bleaches doesn't actually destroy the sponges. The strong actually does. Their disease impact data doesn't apply to a rule for disease and antibiotic resistance means there's no way to cure them, and even it doesn't cause extinction. It'll kill, still kill billions of people, which overcomes the Supreme Court will nullify multilateral systems. Assumes them making binding commitments to institutions doesn't assume a unilateral public whose leadership they consider evidence the world's waiting for Obama to boost leadership. Waiting for Obama to boost leadership to increase credibility and consider evidence that's critical to ensure global cooperation on all issues, access to larger and to all the defense culture, larger and for general impacts. We need to ensure cooperation also to ensure that our allies are supporting us and that means that they'll be able to cooperate with us and overcome the minute 1% decrease defense spending. We'll see the climate change level won't go for our nuclear power or nuclear power. The right does not impact the India decided to consider the Asian wars don't escalate on the Japan decided now the defense cuts decided to impact national support. They say their perception also our band weapons way better on the impact question in case there are not that many for us. We need to be able to deal with it. In fact, we already spend more than every other country in the world combined. Means even if we mine it, we decrease defense spending. It doesn't affect it. Only the larger term is letting our allies stop cooperating with us, stop getting bases, etc. Which is actually something to happen. They say that it solves all conflicts. They say it solves all conflicts. How do we control larger term conflict out? The first time they made the very script with the air power, but they're not going to cut necessary combat systems. 226 quarters fast repeats defense budget argument was on the represents much time. In time for the defense budget nearly double last decade, about 534 billion more. It's under our allies or embolden our enemies. There's no conception linked that's Green Wall 2 3. The ideal goal to receive U.S. and build military increase military spending. This is self-evidently ludicrous to the claim it can possibly be imagined. It can be imagined. The U.S. spends almost as much on its military as every other nation in the world combined. And Obama's actually increasing defense spending. Chapter 329 WC editor field will be from guarantees Obama's one plus lavish increase. Then you have the military. Really, Obama's blueprint calls for defense budgets remain about the same. And once it doesn't say increase, but it says it will remain the same. He doesn't actually want to make cuts now. Also Gates will pass now evidence indicates his credibility to independence based on his history in the military. More evidence possible. 317 weapons custom is hostile yet even. The Pearson critical believes that Obama may have unique opportunity with Gates and Helen Gates has shown using cuts as dramatic news for Eastern Gates. He's been much career as intelligence scales don't even remotely challenge Gates or evidence indicates that's critical. And their evidence does not say it's tied to other. It's not saying it's tied to Obama. Gates will be able to convince people that failed state evidence is terrible. The only senators isolated are Pakistan and North Korea. They are both in Asia, which they consider not agricultural confidence and also global cooperation overcomes it. They also don't have control like their evidence says that a cut of agricultural subsidies increases support on agricultural subsidies. Also says it needs to make opinion needs to have big fit on the economy where climate change does also winners lose. Our Ryan evidence is way better than their single evidence. They have PhD in political science and political capital is finite. If they spend it trades off with other issues. Their single evidence is just a list of laundry list without any warning. He's a JD candidate. You should refer our professor of political science says there is a spill over if he spends political capital he cannot possibly regenerate.
We can back our evidence.
Yes.
Situation.
Can we get back on our
Is this it? Do you have any of the NDT cards? Not over here. There's a pile of them over there in this middle area. I mean, just like that area or
Did you read any cards after other than these two? You read the Chapman card?
I read 3 cards. There's a Gates card.
Okay. Just other ones.
Here it is. That should be it.
I'm pretty sure you read a Chapman card that it's not gonna decrease spending.
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, here's Chapman.
that I can't watch our language. Yeah, for your virgin ears. Yeah. Later today.
Did I give you the politics feedback? You did. The one I know.
I don't
know if I did. That's why I'm. Here's one of our evidence. For your
that's specific one.
I'm sure. I don't. It probably has up.
Well, we did read that, but yeah, it's a combination. Okay, thank you. Pardon? Yeah, that's.
You ever get to see the Nationals on the highlights happen? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I was taught by someone.
It wasn't even that late. You just came out and go like, I'm gonna take a piss right here. I'm sure you that's coming up. I love you guys so much. That was not here though, so good stuff.
Spaghetti.
Overview on top.
On top of T or something?
On global top.
Yeah, seriously. I don't care if you blow my hairs out, but I hardly care.
Everybody good?
Agricultural support refers to farming, not hunting or capturing. Agriculture implies an element of breeding that doesn't exist in hunting and capturing fisheries. A couple of key distinctions. First, they don't have any evidence on what fisheries are or what agricultural means, which means we are going to win this debate. Second is that there is not a counter-interpretation extended in the 1AR. Even if you did accept the counter-interpretation, there's no evidence for it. A couple of subpoints. Little a is there's a giant predictability to set to their interpretation, no matter how good they sound. The 2AR doesn't reflect what happened in this debate. It doesn't reflect the literature because it doesn't reflect what's in their evidence, so they don't have a chance to define what the literature is because it's not supported by any evidence. B is that it takes out reasonability, competing interpretations to the controlling standard because they don't have an interpretation of this debate. C is that even if there's only a small impact to T, which there's not going to be, there's going to be a huge one. The counter-interpretation is controlling, which means they don't have one, which means you vote negative. Third is attitudinal inherency is a conceded independent voting issue, which means that you vote negative. We don't have any dissent because there's no attitudinal inherency to them because they have already eliminated most of our capture subsidies. Drop arguments. Don't allow any new 2AR spin on this argument or any other arguments. You shouldn't allow any new word you need to protect me. This is a T debate. It needs to be very careful application of flow arguments, and you shouldn't allow arguments that are made in crosshairs to be applied to the speech. Go to the line by a couple extent. The debates are won by issues, not miles, and presumption arguments to consider reasons why you should err toward competing interpretations. Now, on the line by line, he makes an argument about agricultural support. I'm going to extend our definitions here. Random house dictionary evidence indicates that it requires breeding or Columbia. Evidence says that agricultural is defined in opposition to things like hunting and fishing. It came into being as a term to define itself as the opposition to hunting and fishing because it was a new form of garnering food systems. He makes an indictment that agricultural about our evidence is being referring to tilling. First is that even if this is true, our random house dictionary evidence or Columbia Encyclopedia evidence says that agricultural comes from producing crops and livestock from natural resources, which means that becomes the controlling language because they don't have a counter-interpretation of agriculture. Second is that it is not true. Our random house dictionary evidence uses that as an example of what the topical things could be. It also says feeding, breeding, and raising livestock. That refers to the breeding of livestock within aquaculture. Now they make an argument that would move the topic. This is wrongly a new argument. You should attack me because I made my choice from the 2 and C. There was not an impact
back to the circuit to see anyway, it doesn't matter. We should just defer to our Columbia Encyclopedia evidence. He makes an argument that we don't find agricultural support, but concedes that support is modifying agriculture. That's the only thing that matters, and that agricultural is defined by agriculture, so agriculture controls agricultural. This is basic grammar. Reasonability doesn't matter. There's no counter-interpretation. A couple of conceded arguments would take this out anyway. They can see that they would not be reasonably. They don't have evidence or counter-interpretation on this question. They also concede that reasonability is bad because of subjectivity, and they concede the arguments on the top of the flow about why in a close debate you need to use competing interpretations because debates are won by inches, not miles. No answers because I shouldn't have to do any more work here. Extend the we-me answers. I'm pretty sure there's not a good we-me argument extended by the Baptiste and Caleb evidence. When C demonstrates aquaculture is agriculture is distinct from capture fishing. Capture fishing is not cultivation. This is the domestication of livestock. The raising of livestock is the opposite of agriculture. The entirety of the one that sees about capture fishing. They can see that cross-sex provides the link. They said they would eliminate things for subsidies like capture fishing because of things like fuel subsidies, and they can't separate a cross-sex, which is a drop argument. Go back to the subsidies spec. I'll answer their silly thing here. Sorry about that. They say the plan includes research subsidies. This action topic or action topic argument was not made in the 2C. It's not a predictable cross-application because it was not applied at all to the other flow. There's no way to predict this cross-application. Second is that this entire T argument is a reason why action topicality is bad. It's unpredictable. All of our impacts will still be claimed from our interpretation. Their story of ground they would still be attitudinally uninherent, which means we wouldn't have a disadd against one half of the other half, which means we wouldn't be able to read that disadd at all. So it's still just limit, which is the reason why you vote negative, and it's not a counter-interpretation, so this is all silly, and it doesn't matter. Now go to the argument they say precision is not a reason to vote. I will extend our impacts here. First is the predictable limits. This is not just a precision debate, it's a debate about limits. Our interpretation is key. It frames what the topic looks like, which means it frames how we do our research in the negative. We should not be prepared for a part of the topic that we don't have to resource. It doesn't matter if there's 11 case areas, not 10, because we didn't research the 11th because our evidence indicates it's not topical. Additionally, they can see an attitudinal inherency disadd that they would not have ground that is already explained above. That is a dropped argument. You should defer to that and vote on that argument. Don't allow any new answers. They make an argument about what is in the literature, but this is silly. They don't have a definition of what the literature is, and they can see that you should not drink the Kool-Aid. The core of the topic is defined by the literature, which is what I'm going for. It isn't defined by what 3 teams reading fisheries say it is. Those teams right or wrong. Our index of Dartmouth don't really make sense. We can't determine what Dartmouth's half is good or bad in this round. We can only determine what our evidence says the topic should be. In any case, the agriculture is farming, and hunting. Farming is hunting, and farming is not hunting. You spear a boar, that's hunting. You raise pigs, that's agriculture. Catching wild salmon is fishing. Raising salmon is agriculture. They explode the topic categorically and structurally, allowing new mechanisms around the kinds of fishing and species. This is entire new areas of advantages. It's a huge kind of topic. Its own is uniquely bad because those fishing subsidies are structurally different from agricultural support. They concede resolutional coherence. Things like shipbuilding subsidies, fuel subsidies, loans, marketing, international agreements are added to a topic that is supposed to be about agriculture, and subsidy becomes about an entirely different area and different types of subsidies, which we don't have ground to, which is a ground impact that they have conceded. Now they make a couple arguments about fleets being key. That doesn't matter. They don't have evidence for this question. They can't prove the claims they're making about Dartmouth's half. They make the argument about indicting our evidence of the U.S. Code evidence. Our U.S. Code evidence is probably not exclusive, but it doesn't matter. The Columbia Encyclopedia evidence is. The U.S. Code evidence is only proving that their fisheries arguments are wrong, and that fisheries does mean aquaculture. Our random house evidence also says fisheries will require a place where fish are bred. Bred implies that humans are taking that action, which means it occurs in aquaculture. This is also defined and contextualized by our 1 and C some of the Columbia Encyclopedia evidence. Our 2 pieces of poly evidence indict the idea that we should use fisheries as controlling language. They don't have a counter-interpretation of agricultural support. We should use that because fisheries don't have a political definition, they don't have a predictable definition, and they are defined politically, which is bad. The only thing they might have going for them is their EVG evidence. This is the only card they point out to me that says that they have the definition of the 1 and C. This is talking about fishing, not fisheries. The entire point of this violation is that fisheries are different from aquaculture. If the topic said fishing, they would be topical. It doesn't. It says fisheries, but it's relevant because they don't have a definition of agriculture. This is a pretty easy debate to decide. There's no evidence. They are wrong on the question of aquaculture providing insufficient ground. It is fair for both sides. There are debates on it that is proven. No offense, no counter-interpretation, no change. 243. How much time do they have?
2:30. So you're going to be back in a second.
I'm going to be back in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Which piece of evidence?
Just like the ones you read in the
Sure. That's one in C and one in our evidence.
Seems to be how it is. Yeah, at least I asked you this time.
In fact, I think we're going to do this decision before you speak.
Okay. So I don't know exactly. I'll just explain what I'm doing. I'm going to address his overview first. Actually, sorry, it's going to be just like I'll address his overview. Then I'm going to move on to like the arguments made on the subsidy spec, which I uploaded as like a variety of like his interpretation of like the extra topicality arguments. And then I'm going to go on to the tea agriculture thing, starting with our interpretation is distinct from capturing the one I see is talking about fuel subsidies. That makes sense to everybody.
Yeah. Awesome.
I got so many lessons. I'm just going to write it straight down.
Okay, that's basically what
You know.
Everyone good?
You should hear reasonability. The question you should ask yourself in evaluating topicality is, did the negative have enough strategic options to ensure fair debate? The negative never provided a reason why it's any easier to debate an aquaculture act than to debate a fishing act. The only option they have is precision. The problem is the only reason that precision is important is to have a critical idea about what sort of affirmatives can be read. The fact that people have been reading the fishing act all year means there's no reason why at the NDT they should not have a negative to their argument about how we shouldn't have to research this because their evidence says that it's not topical. Is blind ignorance giving the multiple teams that have read the fishing act, because there's absolutely no reason that you should not have been able to do research on it, and no reason why doing research on one more area is bad, especially when it's already talking about fish. Any other way of evaluating topicality is 100% arbitrary, creating race to the bottom, which in turn turns all of their standards there are negative always had. Instead of going to create an interpretation that is slightly better for them, and move for that instead of engaging in the substance and potential use as an arbitrary standard, which you should reject because putting negative on topicality will not deter any other team from reading a small app in the future. If there's any abuse, you can vote on topicality in that instance. However, potential abuse creates an incentive for the negative to go over topicality, even when they have a substantive option which destroys education about the topic and about substantive issues which are more important on their overview. Specifically, they make this argument. They say that we did not assign a counter-interpretation in the 1 hour. I'll get to this argument later, along with the predictability stuff. They say attitudinal heresy. I'll answer those arguments here, saying that something is a voting issue does not make right a warrant. They read the three disadvantages, think it has none of them. We say not many people are cutting fishery subsidies now, and even if an argument is conceded, you cannot give it any more weight than what the card says. Their piece of evidence says the United States made a proposal without subsidies, but that's the point of the 1AC. The United States made the proposal, but then they never followed through, which provides that it is inherent. Then it is 100% conceded that even we 100% concede this evidence, you can read it, and it does not make the argument that their assessment does not even hit the proposal actually follow through. On the subsidy spec argument, they make a few arguments here about their interpretation. But look, their interpretation is 100% laughable. Our interpretation is that fishery subsidies can go to things like things that increase the capacity of fishing. Our shark and our Somali evidence is absolutely fantastic. It is talking about in the context of government bodies. It says that federal investment in fisheries development, marketing, and promotion programs have a direct role in the build-up of capacity in U.S. fisheries. If it's talking about the capacity building in U.S. fisheries, and obviously our capacity building plank of the Planet Text meets this argument. Additionally, we still make this argument because of the 1 year cross application of the 2AC we meet on subsidy spec that we include the research subsidy provision. His answer to this is absolutely ridiculous. It was only this extra topicality stuff. But first, let me explain what this means. It takes out the entirety of their topicality violation. If it is true that with that, because of this, first of all, they consider that research subsidies does make this topical because it does go to things like aquacultural trade, etc. This proves that they have zero ground laws whatsoever because they had all the ground that was based on things like research subsidies and capacity and systems that go to fisheries themselves, which means that there's not any real use in the ground whatsoever. The second means that there
still had the core of the topic that they could have negated, but now on the extropicality debate, first of all, obviously all these arguments are new, but we'll make a couple reasons why extropicality is good. The first is well, first of all, makes some defensive arguments. First, that it guarantees the ground limits are doing that above initially counterpunch check because they can just take out the non-competitive, the extrapical thing of the counterpunch, which solves other opposition. Extrapicality is good because it increases education about indexation and enables debates about things like the broader effects of agricultural subsidies and things like non-subsidy barriers. This is proven because the resolution says at least, which means that, and the resolution says at least we provide a minimum standard. Obviously, these arguments are new, but all their arguments in the 2 and argument why extrapicality is bad are also 100% new, so they're completely justified. Also, they've not given a reason why extrapicality was a voting issue. Agriculture proper. Our interpretations that fishery subsidies are not mutually exclusive with fish subsidies. This is our argument about the way we have a few impacts on the person on massive arbitrariness is that they prep you for making arguments that are grounded in the literature about things that are about fishery subsidies. This is what our sharp and Somali evidence is talking about. This just leads to a bad debate where we just have a random debate about aquaculture where there are only about 40 cards total the entirety of the instead of the broadening fishing subsidy, which is a much larger, more rigorous scenario. The competence of things like WTO controversy, etc. The University of Hawaii impacts. We're going to start in the second petition to predict limits their own impacts. Well, they can see that the literature is the right line that we produce read or sharp evidence. They're only literature evidence that they're talking about just says that it is a relatively vague definition. But this A sub point means that you cannot prove that you're not topical, and B sub point means that you should defer to evidence which has some definition. And even if this should be, even if we did not explicitly make counter-interpretation, it proves that we need their interpretation, and any reason why we don't need their interpretation has our arbitrary decisions that were already above the limits. There are a few reasons. They have no real offense here. They say that our Darwin index are dumb. However, I already made this argument above. There are only a very few amount of aquaculture cards on top of means that they never just result about a bad sale forward debate. And now they explain their piece of evidence. However, their evidence is absolutely laughable. Their random house dictionary evidence just finds agriculture, not agricultural support of that. Right? That means it's not a word in the resolution, so it's not a predictable burden for the affirmative. Just as competing with feeding, breeding, and raising livestock. But they can see the 1 AR argument that breeding can include things like fish mating with other fish is not a reason why it exclusively has to be based on humans breeding them. And their second piece of Columbia evidence just says that agriculture would produce crops and livestock for natural resources of Europe. This evidence is not exclusive to eliminating things like fisheries. It just says that early people depended on fishing, and then people took deliberate cultivation. However, this does not mean that in the context of the resolution when it says reduce agricultural support and then those fisheries is one of the areas that fish fishing is not in their interpretation.